Welcome to the High Value Sales Show of Eversprint.com. I'm Malcolm Louie, the managing member of Eversprint, and today we're speaking with Angela Keaveny, the founder of ROWDYDOW bbQ, a provider of ready-to-eat, authentically smoked pulled pork and brisket barbecue. Welcome to the call, Angela.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Angela, you grew your company's revenue from $1.2 million in 2014 to $4.3 million in 2017, a 269% increase. And in 2018, you hit around $2.1 million. Before we talk about how you grew your company so fast, can you briefly share what your company does beyond my quick intro and how your company differs from the competition?
Absolutely, would love to. So, as you said, we are in the barbecue meat business, authentically smoked pulled pork and brisket barbecue. We're very passionate about that. And that said, the differentiator is just that. We are in the barbecue meat business, not so much the barbecue sauce or the barbecue rub. Of course, I have the barbecue rub and barbecue sauce made per my dad's recipe from way back when I asked him in 2007. But instead of going that path of a barbecue sauce or a barbecue, another barbecue rub, I said, this whole thing for me is about my dad's barbecue. So I quickly found myself going into the barbecue meat business, as you described us specializing in. And with that said, why are we different, or how do we continue to be different? Is because we're very passionate about the whole barbecue experience and what it is. I've come to define the 3 barbecue truths, and that's that people love to make barbecue, they love to eat barbecue, and they surely love to talk about doing one of the 2, and they're always having a good time. So, to further that as to why we're different, we're passionate about not just the product and it being delicious, of course, but about that celebration of barbecue. And within that is just the name itself, right? If you didn't know, of course, ROWDYDOW is a real word. It means starting a commotion, making a noise. So when you take the word in of itself, that is, I guess, barbecue-ish in of itself, and then you, of course, couple that with our logo. If I think you've checked it out, and our logo we've got a picture of a gal on there, and just a cool, confident, we'd like to say Southern gal who is representing ROWDYDOW, starting a commotion, making a noise in her own way. So just from a pure, of course, story standpoint, I asked my dad for the recipe, but the name itself, having the meaning that it does, and then of course the logo not being I love all my barbecue friends, but another picture of a hog or a pig and with lips and flames, pictures of flames. We've got something completely different that really brings us to where Evermore brings us to where we are as a vision is concerned, and that is to elevate barbecue into a lifestyle brand and to figure out how to bottle up all that wonderful, delicious, flavors and tastes that you think of when you think barbecue, but also those good times, right? With families and friends and having a great time making barbecue, and the love and TLC that goes into making every batch of barbecue into one brand, one go-to trusted brand that evokes that emotion all in one. So that's why we're different.
All right, fantastic. So Angela, you grew your business from 1.2 million in 2014 to 4.3 million in 2017, a 269% increase. What were the 3 biggest drivers behind that growth?
Well, in 2014, everything changed. It was that 7-year overnight success story, if you will. And by that, what I mean is that we earned the contract as the preferred supplier with Sodexo, which is one of the top 3 food contract management companies in the world. And we landed the spot of being their preferred supplier for the barbecue protein meat category. So as you can imagine, everything about just everything changed. My confidence, financial stability, credibility, street cred, I call it, in the marketplace, and just everything. It gave me a chance to actually build a business, build with real infrastructure, hiring people, etc. So I owe so much. Near and dear to my heart is, of course, the Sodexo company for believing in me and what we offered back then. And in fact, that contract allowed us to expand our product line to include the pulled pork, unsauced, and the brisket products that you see us offering today. Fast forward through 14 into 2017. I mean, you name it, it was happening for us. We became the preferred supplier for the Air Force. We landed another opportunity to work with all the Costco's in Mexico in their food courts. So if you go into, as you do here in the States, you can go into any Costco in their food court and you can get a hot dog, a hamburger, or, what have you, a piece of pizza, of course. And down in Mexico, they were very fond of this barbecue craze that they saw happening in the States, and picked us to be their pulled pork in that sweet vinegar barbecue sauce provider. So that, of course, I don't know that we talked about it so much, but that was the impetus for starting the company, was asking my father for that recipe for what I grew up eating. Anyway, we landed the preferred position with the Air Force, which I'm very passionate about, feeding our troops better for them food. Costco Mexico. We also began a program with Walmart, not branded ROWDYDOW, but in fact supplying them private label wise our pulled pork in that sweet vinegar barbecue sauce as one ingredient into a Cuban sandwich. So we were just, restaurant chains picked us up, Lifetime Fitness, Regal Cinemas. So we became that kind of sort of hot go-to in the food service world barbecue protein provider. And it was a dream come true, right? We continued to build the company with infrastructure, et cetera. So the drivers were, of course, finally making it with Sodexo, being able to leverage that into street credibility. Our distribution model was able to provide easy and economical access to our products. And of course, I was able to build a team to help me keep pushing the envelope. So that was a lot of fun. Oh, and I should add, we had a debut on HSN, the Home Shopping Network. We starred and aired 3 times and had a sellout performance our very first time. So it was a lot of fun. Awesome.
Now, the pulled pork at Costco Mexico, right? Is that similar to the pulled pork I can get today at the Costco's in the United States?
Great question. Yes and no. Of course, you can get pulled pork in the Costco's here in the States, but we unfortunately have not been able to align ourselves on their menus quite yet in their food courts. However, because they don't actually offer that in their food courts, they do have other barbecue, pulled pork, brisket providers under their own brands that are available in Costco, or even under the Costco Kirkland brand, but that's from a retail standpoint. Again, I was talking about the food courts. So yes, you can get some, but not ours.
Well, I mean, like here in Austin at the Costco's here, I can get a pulled pork I think it's a pulled pork sandwich. Or maybe it's a brisket barbecue sandwich. I forget which one. But that's
in the food court?
In the food court, yeah.
Oh, okay. I did not realize that. So yeah, unfortunately that's not ours, but that's what we we sort of went around the corner, if you will, to get back here to the folks in the States. So we are talking with them, but certainly we haven't, like I said, been aligned to any of their, being featured in their stores quite yet.
Right. Now, to sell to Walmart and Costco, I mean, these are pretty big customers of yours. How did you manage that? How did you ramp up your production and be able to satisfy those two, as well as your Sodexo contract? Am I saying it right? Sodexo?
Yeah, Sodexo. Yes. Yeah. It's a little bit of a tricky word. Yes, Sodexo, the Air Force, the Walmarts, et cetera, Costco's of the world. I mean, obviously those are big names, and I often tell people what we've done really well is whale hunt, if you will. We've got some really big names, and I honestly, it was paying attention. It was paying attention to conversations and people I met and doing follow-ups. And obviously, again, I will always contribute a tremendous amount of our initial marketing, street credibility success with, of course, Sodexo. After that, it was just one person led me to another. So networking, right? And doing the follow-up that it took. And I think we were very fortunate to be in the right time, right place. I attended the National Restaurant Association show back in 2015, and I happened to meet, just stopped at a booth that happened to be the right fellow that wanted to hear more about my story and wanted to introduce me to someone else who happened to be very connected in with the Walmart culinary team. And, of course, it took 1.5 years to land that opportunity, but we did. And again, I get back to the fundamentals of paying attention, being a lover of learning, making sure you're doing the networking and follow up, and just being visible and present so that people can meet you, right?
Yeah. Now, can you share your process for networking and following up with the people you meet? There's quite a bit of art to it to do it well. It sounds like you've nailed that.
Oh, well, thank you. It is certainly, I think, an art, and certainly I think something that can also be learned, and some of it being just somewhat, natural. And I'd say that, without to kudo myself, but I was sort of born with this natural love of connecting with people. And that said, I certainly do pay attention to some coaching tips all the while. But for me, I think it's just been, I don't know, that when you see me in person, the hands are waving, and there's certainly some excitement about what I'm talking about, and with ROWDYDOW, of course, and the passion and dream, and that is contagious at times. So if you, short of not having that, right, because not everyone may be as fortunate as I am, I think just one thing that I think just being authentic is I know being authentic is certainly a big part of the success, but also thinking about what's in it for the other person. I was taught that long ago, and it's stuck with me. Is not so much what, of course I'm looking for, hope to achieve and accomplish from a conversation or connection, but really what is it that you can do to help the other person too? And if it's not necessarily a connection or something of the like that you can do for the other person, just making sure that you value their opinion. So asking their advice has certainly been a big help for me when I know that I couldn't necessarily give something back in return, but I certainly could appreciate and learn from their advice or suggestions. And people at the end of the day really do love to help.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what about the person you met at the National Restaurant Show who then introduced you to the Walmart team? Like, how did that evolve? Because this is a total stranger, right? Who you never even knew before until you went to the show and you walked by the booth and you struck up a conversation with this person.
Yeah, well, I certainly have some stories. This whole journey has not been without some stories. So if you really want to know the truth, I was only walking the show. We did not have a booth. We had a booth the next year, but always made sure I went every year and walked around and just to see if there were some companies we could align with, et cetera. So it really just came from that. And in particular, I had been served a little too much wine the night before. So I was very hungry, and I saw this pizza booth. It was a gorgeous pizza booth. And I stopped there, and certainly I was craving a piece of pizza or two, but truly we did have an opportunity to talk, in which we did, about, of course, our pulled pork barbecue and or briskets to be on, as a pizza topping. So anyway, from just that natural desire to feed my, little bit of hangover situation, I ended up being able to talk to their head of marketing, who heard the story about what I was doing. And she said, oh, my goodness, you've got to meet the founder of our company. There's a lot of synergies, because he worked really hard to build the company to where it is today. And, then he said, wait a minute, you've got to talk to, a chef that I've hired to be on board with us and what he does, et cetera. So that it was the perfect example of networking, something that was innocent as, oh my gosh, I'm hungry and I need some pizza, but I have a real story for you at the same time, that led to that connection and that relationship that still exists today. So I was happy I went, right? Showed up. I was accessible and visible, and I made sure I made an introduction. I did the follow-up, and I was very open the other thing is to be very open to just seeing where things might lead.
Right. Now, how do you do the follow-up?
How do I do it? Great question. The follow-up is, certainly, I've come to learn to love by text, but I sort of feel it out to see if that's the relationship that's evolved. But certainly an email for a quick and easy. But I tell you, I have written many handwritten personal thank you notes. They work. I swear by them. I used to do them when I was a financial advisor, if you will, stockbroker back in the day. And that was something that we were always taught that would differentiate us. And I like to do it. It's very personal for me. And so it's time consuming, but if you can do it and maybe have a helper that, even can help with little things like you write the note and they put the stamp and, write the address the envelope, little stuff like that, just to help, you produce more of them authentically from your own written hand and mindset, I think is a great just sort of secret tool to keep in mind from follow-up. But other than that, it's an email, it's a text, and because I do think people ever more are responding to texts, of course, and of course a phone call whenever possible, leaving a voicemail. And of course, what do we have today besides a traditional voicemail? We have a voice text. So putting that voice to message, I think is a very cool and tactical way to catch people's attention.
Right. And when you do follow up with people, what exactly are you following up to talk about, to discuss? Like some people follow up sharing some interesting ideas and stories that they've seen that might be related to the person. Other people just follow up just to check in. What's your strategy behind your follow up to keep it useful for the other person?
Yeah, I would, great question again. And the three, I would break it down into, of course, threes, right? The first is to, of course, acknowledge how you met. And if there's any, I always love to have fun, right? So if there's anything funny about the connection point, or just something meaningful, significant, what have you, acknowledge that connection. Talk about how, of course, you're thankful and appreciate the opportunity to have make the connection. But then, of course, what was their follow-up in some sort of way? Was there an action item, I should say? And certainly address that and specifically state how you're going to do the follow-up, whether it's making a connection to sending a message or what have you. I think that's extremely important as well.
Okay. To step back a little bit and recap what the biggest drivers were that grew your business from 1.2 million in 2014 to 4.3 million in 2017. One was your contract with Sodexo, right? And then that gave you the street cred. And then from that, you were able to win additional contracts, the Air Force, Costco Mexico, Walmart, restaurant chains, Rego Cinema. But it sounds to me that a big driver of perhaps all of these deals you won was from your networking efforts. Or were there other ways, other sources of generating these business opportunities for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, well, first I would just a minor correction. They weren't, besides Sodexo, there's really no contracts that exist in food, very rare. So it was a matter of really a chef, right? In the food service space, the chef decides that he or she wants your product on a menu or wants to serve a particular dish. So that was something that I had to learn, that there aren't really contracts like Sodexo's out there. It's whether or not we want it on a menu or not. And how I always best describe that to people is like, think about your favorite restaurant. Do you want to go there all year long and have the same menu items to choose from? No, right? So they're changing their menus up, as they should, of course, to appease and maximize the guest experience. But I had to learn that. And from that, though, to get back to your question, yes, it was networking. It was specifically, though, it was looking to have a relationship with the chefs, and instead of necessarily the Cisco sales rep or the US food sales rep. I had to learn that too over time. My first 7 years, arguably, I spent so much time and focus on calling on the the sales reps at these big distribution companies. Again, Cisco's, US Foods, PFGs, et ceteras of the world. And because in my mind, well, if they like my product, they're in sales, they need to go out and put food on their table, and they need something new and exciting to talk about. Over time, that business has changed for them, whereas, of course, they carry massive amounts of products. So it was less of an opportunity for them to be a salesperson versus to just get the chef the product that he or she needs when they need it. So I was actually taught by them to call directly on the account. So I would say, for me, from a networking standpoint, it was being smart about who I was networking with, and realizing who the buyers were, right? Versus trying to go through an alternate, an indirect channel. And I think I did have a great relationship at the time with a company that was a redistribution company called Dot Foods. And I made it my business to find out who all of their top salespeople were that were calling on those restaurant chains, their executive chef. And I knew from just a pure law of numbers standpoint that if I had a handful of those folks that I networked with and stayed in contact with, and I quote unquote marketed to, so that when they went out and did their jobs of selling, if I stayed top of mind to them, that I had a better chance of course, leveraging their enthusiasm for our product that they are newly carrying, in a very strategic way. Okay. So I think that would be it, just using a strategic, approach to, and being smart about who I was networking with. Okay.
So number one driver, strategic networking of building your contacts with the buyers, the ultimate buyers. Were there other drivers of the growth besides your networking?
Yeah, I mean, besides that, it was making lots of phone calls. I mean, I was hustling. I'm self-proclaimed hustler in a good way. Just lots of hours putting in the time and effort. And just, of course, building the infrastructure behind it so that you were on point for your follow-up. Because of course, the number one mistake we can all easily make is we go to a show or we meet a bunch of people, we network, and we don't follow up. Sometimes it can be, of course, so overwhelming to do it all yourself. So having some support, even if it's just a virtual assistant, there's a lot of those folks that exist today for their own business to provide that as a service to get them from an inside sales perspective to help you and keep you organized. That's super helpful. And I would certainly wish to share that and attribute that to part of the success of just, being present and visible, right? I had to do that with a team. So I would certainly want to acknowledge that too. Okay.
And you didn't mention this, but I think a key element for the success had to be a way of delivering on the Sodexo contracts, as well as the business that you're doing with the chefs and the businesses, right? How did you arrange that? Because I know you're not cooking, you're not cooking it out of your kitchen, right?
We are not, of course. So I always say to people, be thankful of this little old government entity called the USDA, of course. And the USDA exists, of course, to govern, specifically the production of meat, commercial production of meat in our country. And so back to the original, whole birth of ROWDYDOW was that I had the idea to ask my dad for the recipe for the barbecue and that sweet vinegar barbecue sauce that I grew up eating. And I knew that I didn't want to just do the rub, or it wasn't about just the rub or the sauce. It was about eating that whole eating experience. So again, I quickly found myself in the meat business. And what I realized is that, of course, you cannot do that at your home, right? You are absolutely correct. And of course, I attribute that to in large part, our success, because I'm in an uncrowded marketplace, if you will. Think about anytime you go to a grocery store, there's rows upon rows of shelving that has barbecue sauces or rubs. But if you go to the fully prepared and smoked barbecue section, the prepared meat section, there's less than a handful usually ever available. So making that decision, of course, meant a lot more complexities with the USDA, et cetera, but it also put me in a less competitive marketplace, somewhat. And what allowed me to grow was just staying on top of finding the right manufacturing partner to produce the product for us, per our recipes. So luckily, and sometimes twice, just in time, I moved from one co-packer, again, a manufacturing facility that exists just to make product for other people per their specs. Just in time, I was able to move from one co-packing partner to the other because we were growing so fast that, of course, we outgrew their capabilities. So yes, finding the right manufacturing partners was key, and at times just in time to keep up with the volume. I'm very happy to say that we're now looking to, have our either buy and or build our own manufacturing facilities so that we can further align our supply chain. So that's exciting. And I would also attribute it to distribution. Again, I mentioned this redistribution partner, Dot Foods, that is not like a Cisco or US Foods that we often see the trucks running around towns delivering food to, but instead these folks act as an aggregator between the supplier and the end accounts and the Ciscos of the world. So they consolidate all my orders and give me only one order a week, if you will, and allow for those and allow for a streamlined economical delivery of product to the Ciscos, who then turn around and bring it to the end accounts. And I bring that up because specifically that they were that sales team and that executive chef team that I was very strategic and smart, I think, in focusing on from a networking standpoint to go out and help us build brand awareness when it came to the restaurant chains around the country. So that was really cool, and definitely a key to our success.
Right. Okay. So the drivers and the recap would be one, networking to build relationships strategically. Number two, hustling, making lots of calls and a lot of follow up. And then number three, just finding the right manufacturers, co-packers to help you create your product, as well as having the right distributor. And it sounds like you have one that you use quite a bit, the Dot Food.
Dot Foods, and they're a redistributor. So they, again, distribute to the Ciscos and the US Foods. Instead of me having to have, 35 Cisco trucks coming up to our plant every week, we just have one, right? Because they aggregate, they redistribute. So I would say, yes, the production capability and keeping up with that. And then number four being the redistribution model. That's key to emphasize the redistribution model, because it is pretty unique for the food service industry. And then, lastly, I would just say faith and belief, especially any fellow entrepreneurs out there listening, and those who wish and aspire to take an idea and put it into action as an actual product or service to sell. You got to have faith and belief, put the blinders on, make sure you're so disciplined to stay away from all that noise that exists out there. And hold on for 5 more minutes. That's, I swear to you, the faith and belief and the holding on, just saying it to myself, has carried me through so much over time.
Right. Yeah. You never know, right? If you dig another 12 inches, you might have gold behind that chunk of rock.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So in 2018, you had some business challenges, right? Your total sales fell from 4.3 million in 2017 to 2.1 million in 2018. What happened there?
Well, it's been pretty surreal, and I gotta say, just a real nightmare of an experience. I truly wish, oftentimes, and pinch myself reversely, to say, is this really happening? Right? I pinched myself when we got the Sodexo contract, and now I pinch myself in that, did this really happen? That it's almost fallen apart at the seams. But basically, what happened is we just had a bum manufacturing partner. Obviously we just talked about how important that was to our success. Conversely, it's exactly what has been the downfall for us, having a bad partner. So it happens. It's life, right? Just didn't wish for it to happen to us so quickly after just getting our feet, cemented on some solid ground, of course. But yeah, we just, at the end of the day, food safety and quality control became not something that was as regimented at their plant. You know, I certainly had learned and was coachable and told that I needed to hire my own operations person that couldn't work there day to day, but certainly visit there often. And like, besides me, someone who's very skilled in that space to take over that. And so I thought, of course, I was doing the right things. And even though you believe you're doing those right things can still happen. So yes, we had massive issues with tens of thousands of actually several hundreds of thousands of pounds of product from a quality control, packaging, and food safety standpoint. And then at the end of the day, specific to our Walmart project, they ended up backing out of the program in the final hour, even though Walmart was wonderful and gave us a third chance. And then fast forward, just not even 3 months later, we had a product review for the renewal of this. In my mind. Oh yes, are you there?
Yep. So it broke a little bit. I kind of missed out a little bit. You talked about Walmart a little bit, and then you started talking about something, and then the line cut out. Can you maybe?
Oh shoot. Yes, sorry.
Go back there. No trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. With Walmart, we in fact had overall we had we actually ended up having a few 100,000 of pounds worth of product that had product quality, packaging issues, and then we also had food safety issues that came about with Walmart. However, Walmart was wonderful and fantastic to us, gave us the third chance. And unfortunately, this manufacturing partner decided that he was going to back out of the program in the last minute, the last hour. And we lost that business with them. And not even, I should say, 3 months later, we had a contract review, which of course included the product review with Sodexo. And it was unfortunately determined that the quality of our product in relation to or in comparison to another brand that they were evaluating was not preferred any longer. So we, in what seemed like 5 minutes of time, when it takes you 12 years to build the company to what it was, just really went away like that. So we did lose the preferred status with Sodexo. We still have a portion of business with them. So of course we're thankful for that, but it wasn't what it was. So as I said, we're in rebuild stage at this time, not giving up, still having faith and hope and holding on for 5 more minutes, as we just talked about. And, the lesson learned, or at least for me, near and dear to my heart and very experientially, can speak with true confidence that for us, the best thing for us to do is to have, to control our own supply chain. So in fact, that is part of what our, mission is and priorities for this year going in 2019 and into 20 is to have control over that.
Yep.
So
So this same manufacturer that caused problems with your Walmart opportunity, they were also the same one that was supplying to Sodexo.
Correct. Yeah, they were. Okay. Yes, they were our sole supplier.
Right.
And of course, there were conversations of, oh, you should have had a backup supplier. We were still a bit too small to have a backup. When you're talking about the commercial production game. But of course that was part of the plan. Mm-hmm. We just needed Walmart to, stay on board and ideally continue to expand. So, we know that a second backup is of course, a great, risk management, strategy to take on. It's still part of our plan. Moving forward as soon as we're able to do it. So that's not out of the question. I think that, that's still part of the plan and certainly that what we'll look to do. Because I guess the most important point is that, and what I was often said to is, look, you can just go get any manufacturer. Well, don't forget, I stand behind what ROWDYDOW is, and that's authentically smoked pulled pork and brisket, any barbecue meats. And, again, ROWDYDOW means starting a commotion, making a noise. So we're making a noise. We're making a commotion especially in the food service space for now. Can't wait to launch into retail. But we're making a noise because we're not doing what everyone else is doing. We're not using these really, really big industrial steam smokers is what it boils down to. We're using the authentic traditional smokers that use real wood logs, real fire, which create real smoke. So unfortunately, those companies that produce those smokers are not interested in the big industrial 10,000 pound smokers at a time. So, but that's okay. We're going to stand behind it. And what that means to us is that we just need a little bit more real estate to make the same volume of product. But that allows us to keep, true to our story, true to small batch, true to that TLC and what, the love of barbecue is really all about. So yeah. I'm okay with it.
If someone asked me if I wanted steam smoked pulled pork, that doesn't sound really appealing to me.
That's what it is, my friend. I mean, that's, again, now we're talking food service space where you've got, these chefs who are managing these large, corporate cafeterias, college campuses, hotels, airports, so we're helping them right now. That's where we've been focused on, just was our natural path to fall into that sales channel. And so they need to oftentimes feed a lot of people fast, right? So cost is a big driver. But I agree with you, even still, the tide is turning, right? And even those chefs are saying, no more, I don't want this kind of stuff to be served with my name on it, et cetera. So smaller suppliers like us are starting to emerge and to give them those options. Of course, on the retail side, eating at your home, what's on the grocery store shelves, what you buy online, I never want you to have to settle for that. So that's why we're excited to start meaningfully launch and bring ROWDYDOW into the direct to consumer, straight to your doorstep grocery cart sort of space here in 2019 as a strategic plan as well.
Awesome. In fact, that actually is a nice segue to my next question. What are your objectives, your plans for 2019, and what challenges do you see you need to overcome to achieve those objectives?
Wow. Well, if you didn't hear me sort of scream it loud enough, control of our own supply chain. So that's first and foremost on our docket. But yes, we absolutely want to finally launch into meaningfully plan for and launch into retail. And so we're super focused on that, excited about it. We also have some product expansion that we're looking to do. And backing into that, those three is, of course, control of the supply chain, either buying the plant, that we're currently working with, or, looking to build our own, is one. Number two is going into the retail space. And we're really excited because if you think about it, we wish for you to make barbecue at home if you love to make it and you have the time. Again, we celebrate all things barbecue. We just do, right? That's how I grew up. But short of that, we aspire to bring that sort of the love of barbecue to that everyday grocery store that you frequent, right? Add some excitement to that prepackaged grocery store aisle, or even maybe in the frozen food section. Put in some barbecue in there, authentically smoked, that you can just heat up, ready to eat, like you said, and make any breakfast, lunch, or dinner meal for yourself and family. So we're looking to do that in the grocery store aisle, and also direct delivery to your doorstep. Of course, with the craze and the trend of people looking to buy online ever more, building up our own website. So focused on doing just that, whether it's on our own website, ROWDYDOW bbq.com, or building an Amazon store. We're in discussions right now to have a storefront built there. So that, of course, will be exciting. And then finally, as a really major priority for the year, is to launch, are you ready for it? Our smoked pulled pork and sweet vinegar barbecue sauce on a King's Hawaiian slider bun as a 2-pack, microwavable. So all you have to do is grab that sandwich pack, throw it in the microwave, heat it up, and eat it, whether you're on the go or kids' meals, quick snack, etc. We're just thrilled. So the product expansion specific to bringing barbecue sandwiches ready to heat and eat to, again, your grocery store shelf or doorstep is what we're totally doing cartwheels over here about for 2019.
Yeah, that last product sounds awesome.
It is awesome. It's so delicious in your mouth. And I tell you, if you just get some coleslaw on the side, and put a dollop of that on there, it is just wonderful deliciousness in your mouth.
You know what I found sometimes? I haven't really researched the science behind this, and I should because I'm a bit geeky about these sort of things. But why is it that sometimes when I microwave breads and buns, it gets really tough, right? So you must have encountered that and found a solution to that, right? Because no one wants tough bread while eating their pulled pork.
No, they sure don't. That's a great question. It really is it's the science behind how much you warm it up or don't warm it up. It's finding the right bread. Of course, we love King's Hawaiian. It just tastes so wonderful with that sweet vinegar barbecue sauce and that smoky flavor. Of course, many things taste great with the King's Hawaiian bread, but in particular, it's my super favorite, and it has been for years. So finding the right bread is key. And in fact, we had to have many discussions with them about making sure that the meat product wasn't going to need to be heated up so much so that it ruined the experience of the bread. And then lastly is the packaging, just making sure that, it is viable, microwave packaged in a viable microwavable package, I should say. So just having all those elements come together from a research and development standpoint to have something that's a great eating experience.
How many iterations did you go through before you guys finally said, yeah, we got it?
Well, I've definitely been working on this thing for about a year. So but I've had the idea for many years. It's just was getting on King's Hawaiian's radar screen, which was the tough thing.
Yeah. It all has to come together, right? One bad element kind of messes up the whole thing.
It does. And, just doing a quick deep dive into another production co-packing situation. So I've had the idea for at least 3 years. And in the last year and a half, it's taken me to really bring it together, talk with King's Hawaiian, but to find the right co-packer. I've worked on this easily. I've gone through 3 different co-packers to find the right one that would then become our sandwich assembler, if you will, and who has the capability to freeze it. Believe it or not, there's not a lot of them in the US that have the equipment that freezes the sandwiches as they need to be done. So anyway, now we're in discussions about what the packaging looks like and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's a work in progress. But I would say for you, make sure you just don't heat up the bun too much. Even if you have to, take off the top and the bottom of the bun. I know White Castle does that as part of their instructions, just so you don't do just that, make the bread too hard. So that's my tip of the day for you.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, so you mentioned a bunch of plans and objectives for 2019, controlling your supply chain either by buying your own plants or building your own, going into the retail space, talking about new products, and you give a little bit more details about that, getting on the supermarket shelves, direct delivery to doorstep, building out your own website, and also building out an Amazon storefront, and then launching your pulled pork on King's Hawaiian bun. Now, are there any particular challenges that you have? I know you talked about the challenge of finding the co-packer to do the sandwich. How about the challenges in regards to the other things that you're talking about? Direct delivery to door, building out your website, getting into the supermarket, and getting onto the shelves. What particular challenges there do you need to figure out and overcome?
Yeah, besides the co-packing for the sandwich, great point there is really at the end of the day is just the financials to pull it all together. Again, we're in a bit of a rebuild stage. So in food service, of course we want to keep that business going. It's time for us to have someone besides me and just a small team out there, pounding the pavement. So the financials to hire a few folks for from a human capital standpoint, and then also to get the launch of the products off, the design and what does that look like and all that, all those things take some upfront monies. And then of course, ultimately we want that control of the supply chain. So the funds to actually purchase the plant, whether it's investors or traditional debt capital is what we're looking at. So that's our priority right now of getting that secured. In fact, that was the call I was on before. Excuse me, we had this call.
Okay. Good. Now, how about
it's all happening in real time.
Yeah, no, you're on the phone, on the go all the time. You're hustling. So,
always be hustling. That's right.
Always be hustling. That's a good motto here. And what about in terms of building out your own website? What's the plan there? You're planning on building out your own e-commerce store on your website and selling your product that way?
Yeah, well, if you check out our website right now, you can see we have, it's certainly more geared towards food service because, again, that's just the space, that B2B space we've been in for all these years. We do have the barbecue shop as one of the pages, page headers that you can click on and you can buy today, right? The 2 pounds of the smoked pulled pork and the sweet vinegar barbecue sauce. And then also one of our new products is that the smoked chopped brisket. So we're excited about that, but it is available via our website. Arguably, our website needs a whole new refresh when it comes to just the look and the feel to start making more room, right, for the direct to consumer space that we want to play in now. So we're looking to have that revamped and also work with a company that builds those online Amazon stores that we mentioned earlier. So we want to collaborate with them on that. And I tell you, we from a how are we going to do this standpoint, we're really focused on looking at 2 social media channels, which of course being Instagram, because people love food on Instagram, and telling my story, the entrepreneurial journey and things like that, sharing just experiences, what we found to be desired to look at and follow and all of that. But also Pinterest. We're looking to actually build some presence on Pinterest too, because of the element of what barbecue is, right? It's community, and you can make that come alive in pictures, which of course Pinterest is all about. So to evoke that emotion, because again, we're really focused on and passionate about building a lifestyle brand, elevating barbecue out of the backyard, if you will. So that's what we're looking to do and put money towards as well from a marketing standpoint.
Got it. Now, that actually said a couple things that kind of reminded me how they're going to be great answers for my next question for you. So
Okay.
Say along the freeway, you have a billboard for ROWDYDOW bbQ. What would be your message there on that billboard? And I imagine you could have 2 potential messages, one for the food service customers of yours, another one for the consumers of yours. And keep in mind that people only have 6 seconds to read a billboard before they drive by, so it can't be a super long message.
I love it. It's such an awesome question. I don't mean to steal from past promotions, but it would be, for all the families out there, it would be barbecue, an awesome picture of someone eating some barbecue, like a family setting, and it would say, barbecue, food fun to eat, or barbecue, it's what's for dinner tonight. So really building a campaign around getting families to think about, of course, going out and having that experience at their favorite barbecue restaurant, but it's just simply another great idea for breakfast, lunch, or dinner for the family setting. So yeah, I think barbecue, what's for dinner? It's what's for dinner tonight.
Yeah, or barbecue for breakfast.
Barbecue for breakfast, exactly. Or
why not?
We also have had, why not? There you go. Yeah. Barbecue. We do BLD, breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Yeah.
We could have some real fun with that for sure.
Definitely. I mean, who doesn't like barbecue?
In fact, who doesn't like barbecue?
I don't think I've met anyone who doesn't like barbecue.
I know. Again, it's barbecue. It's food fun to eat. So
yeah.
You love the barbecue truth. You love to make it, you love to eat it, or you love to talk about it.
Yeah, you know what to say. If you love barbecue, you're my friend, right? And I guess if you don't like barbecue, I won't hang out with you.
Yeah. I love it. There you go.
Yeah. 2 last questions for you. Who are your ideal food service partners and your ideal consumers? And what's the best way for them to either contact your team for the former or to buy your product today, if the latter?
Well, thanks for that question. Of course, in the food service space, we always say we want to work with the everyday chef responsible for the everyday menus, who's looking to bring some authenticity back to the barbecue that they may or may not have been serving, or to think of barbecue in the first place. Of course, they can talk with their distributor, Cisco's the US Foods, or we'd love for them just to go on our website and contact us directly. We have a contact form ready for them to fill out, and we have some cool, just tidbits on the website, an ebook that we created, again, just to show up as a partner, not just, hey, buy some of my barbecue. So that's certainly what I would say on the food service side. And then as far as the consumer side is, I mean, we're here, barbecue on our barbecue shop on our website, but we're coming. So just hang tight, right? Like what you see now is nothing close to what you're gonna see. And so stay tuned, be on the lookout is what I would say, in your favorite grocery store shelf, or online, but or shopping on Amazon. But for now, like I said, just come into our website. We have a place for you to order, to inquire, what have you. You can even text us. We encourage it, like I said in the beginning, a way to contact folks quick and easy, because we're all so busy today. We're very open to that too. So
can you share your website name, your website URL?
Yeah, absolutely. It's ROWDYDOW bbQ.com. So ROW, D as in David, Y, another D as in David, OW, and then B as in boy, B as in boy, Q.com. And again, don't forget, ROWDYDOW is a real word. It means starting a commotion, making a noise. And that's exactly what we're doing for the barbecue loving world, barbecue loving families out there. And you're going to notice a big Q wherever you see ROWDYDOW written. And of course, that big Q is meant to be starting a commotion, doing something different. And it stands for big barbecue flavor. So There you go.
Yeah, I am really keen on trying out your dad's recipe. Sweet vinegar sounds really good.
Oh, it's just delicious. Sweet vinegar barbecue sauce. I still to this day have never found any even mom and pop sort of barbecue joint or grocery store shelves where it's just a straight sweet vinegar barbecue sauce. Anything I've ever seen has elements of that, but also adds that tomato base to it. And that's just not what we do. I didn't even have red barbecue sauce until I was in my 20s.
You said, what the heck is that?
I did. I was like, I don't know what this is. So anyway, now I'm a lover of all barbecue, of course.
Of course. Angela, it's been awesome having you on my show today. I really enjoyed hearing about how you grew your business.
Oh, thank you so much. This was really, really cool. I love what you're doing and your approach to sharing other entrepreneur stories as you continue to build your company and your entrepreneurial stories. So thank you for having the interest in doing this, and of course the capabilities to do all that cool editing and sound checks and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it comes with the territory.
There you go.
We've been speaking with Angela Keaveny, the founder of ROWDYDOW bbQ, about her company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing high-value sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-value sales through automation, visit eversprint.com.